A little chaos happening in Minnesota. Just outrageous how all these people are just pushing back against law and order in this country. Outrageous here. And joining us now to talk a little bit more about what's happening, an immigration expert as an immigrant herself, certainly very aware of what the pathway to citizenship is like here in our country. Pallavi Ahluwalia, I'm sorry. Pallavi, welcome and thanks for being with me.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning. So where are you from?
Originally from India, and came here as a 23-year-old, went to law school here, and became a green card holder several years later, and then got my citizenship. I've been here practicing law for about 23 years in the areas of corporate, family, and immigration.
You know, I love the fact that you came, you wanted to be here, you went through the legal process of getting your citizenship, became a productive citizen in society here, assimilated into the United States, and are now lawyers. I mean, congratulations. My hat's off to you. Welcome to the United States of America. I know it's been a while, but, you know, fantastic.
Yes, it has. It's home now.
Yes. All right. So let's talk about what's happening. First of all, let's back up. 4 years of Joe Biden's open borders created just a nightmare for the United States and cities across America that became extremely dangerous. The flow of a lot of people saw this as an opportunity. Yes, I will give credit to some of those folks that just wanted to better their family life and get into a better situation, potentially, get out of the harm that was, in some cities they lived in south of the border. But let's just call it. With this comes the bad guys and the drugs and the influx and just tons of it. It was basically disregard immigration laws and policies we have. Just come on and we'll figure it out once you get here. And it's created a nightmare right now. And the situation in Minneapolis has our own elected officials pushing back on law and order in this country as ICE is trying to do their job. And they have every right to, enforce law and order in our country. We are a nation of law and order. What are your thoughts with the current situation involving ICE and involving our immigration system? Let's start with, first of all, the law and order part, and then we'll talk immigration reform if you believe we ought to have it.
All right. So we're talking about Section 111 of Title 18, who punishes anyone who forcibly assaults, resists, opposes, impedes, intimidates, or interferes with any person designated who served as a federal officer and who is performing the official duties. So, the element of force has to be reasonable to justify an equal kind of force that's applied to those threats. So there is something to be said with how the law does protect federal officers who are performing their duties. There is also, and I'm just going to bring this to you, there is also a policy manual in place from 2023 that tells the government as to how to use force, and the appropriateness of a particular force is guided by constitutional law, and it is interpreted by the U.S. Supreme Court. The Fourth Amendment does supply a constitutional baseline for the permissible use of force by law enforcement officers in the course of their official duties. So, and law enforcement has to adopt policies that constrain the use of force. So we have an allowance of force based on the statute, and then we have memos that tone down the amount of force to be used. Yes, someone is performing their duties and they're there for deportation. They should not be thwarted in their effort because they're carrying on what the law allows them for deportation. Mm-hmm. But I think what is at play is the amount of force and whether it's justified or not, and whether the Constitution permits it or not.
With the current situation in Minneapolis, we had the shooting where the woman lost her life. She was in a motor vehicle, and the officer that was standing in front of that vehicle felt his life was threatened. Do you believe that he had the right to respond the way he did?
So I think this is going to be looked at and investigated in several ways. If someone is being threatened, they do have the right to use force. And again, whatever is playing out in front of everyone. People will make their own judgments based on the videos that are floating around. But eventually this would be something that can perhaps be resolved by the branch of government called the judiciary, mm-hmm. right? So it has to be resolved properly at a part where it's not partisan. It is going to be based on facts, witnesses, who saw what,
Yeah,
and how it plays out.
as Tom Holman said, let's let the investigation play out and not emotionally
Correct.
react to the way we see it and think we see it. Let's wait and see the investigation. Another incident yesterday where an ICE officer shot somebody else in the leg. They survived because this person was coming at him with a shovel, swinging it at his head as he was trying to do his job in taking out a bad guy and arresting them. Once again, the left will paint this as, look at ICE. And the mayor says, get the F out of our city. The governor says, we don't need Trump and his National Guard and ICE agents here. Let's get rid of them. Do you think that they're feeding the beast to push back on law enforcement is wrong? Should they just leave this alone? And what would your message be to these protesters if you were brought into their room?
Well, I mean, first of all, and I think I did hear the mayor say yesterday that everybody, let's look for peace here. Protesting calmly is everyone's right. Mm-hmm. It's the First Amendment right to protest, and everyone in the United States is allowed that by the law. That's one point. The second point is we have the supremacy clause that establishes, the federal role, and where the federal role is being carried out by federal officers, it becomes the federal role does preempt the state law. But there is also the 10th Amendment that reserves powers that is not given to the federal government, to the states, that establishes state police powers, which is local law enforcement and public safety. So if people are not safe in any way, I'm sure that, everyone at this point has to stand down. Protests should continue if they feel that anything is being done unfairly. They can continue, but not with violence, not with coming at federal officers, because the federal officers are carrying out their duties they're employees of the federal government. They've been given a task to do. When they go out to carry on deportations, which is what they're tasked with, they're expecting to go back home at night, right? They're not expecting to die in the line of duty. Similarly, people who are protesting are just going out there to say that they don't agree with what's going on, and they have the full right to do so. But either if you're in the way of the federal officers carrying out their duties and you're threatening them in any way, then you stand to, you're going to be in their way. Yeah, well, but what those consequences would be, should it be somebody shot in their face? I'm going to have to let the investigation play out on that. Or if it is a minor thing that you can say, okay, I shot someone's leg, is that minor? Or
I agree with you. And there are laws that allow not only law enforcement, also U.S. citizens, that if they feel they are being threatened and their life is in danger, laws protect the person to do what they want to do, to protect themselves from being attacked or killed. So if this ICE agent felt that a woman in a motor vehicle was coming at him and his split-second reaction was to protect his life by shooting, I think he'll be cleared in this. Secondly, the guy that shot the person in the leg because they were getting a shovel swung at their head will also be cleared in all of this. And I think at the end of the day, I agree with you 100%. Protesting is part of what this country is about. Violent protesting is not allowed for a good reason. So my message would be protest, but the minute you cross the line and start impeding law enforcement, it's like me protesting to an officer that just pulled me over for running a red light and me trying to justify nobody else was around, it's okay. Don't argue the case on the scene. You kind of have to give the law enforcement agent the benefit of the doubt. Argue it once you get your lawyer and in front of a judge, not on the street, because that law enforcement officer has no idea what you could be pulling out of your pocket, your jacket, or whatever. And to get violent ain't the answer. And
Correct. So, JT, I have something that I want to say. One more thing, and we've brought up 18 U.S.C. 111, right? So profanity or personal insults directed at officers is not a violation. Rude gestures directed at officers are not. Arguing with the officers is not. Challenging authority may not be. Talking back to officers is also not. But when it comes to the physical part, it is.
Right.
It is not allowed to you. And when that comes in the way, when you're coming at someone either with, a weapon or whatever you're weaponizing, you're not allowed to do that.
Right.
And that's where you'll have a force against you. But the other things, there is something that's floating around, which, it's floating around right now in social media, and it's on the government letterhead, and it is what they call a legal refresher to the ICE officers. And what I read out to you is exactly that. All of those are within people's right to, again, the First Amendment, right, to protest.
Yeah.
But not with force, not with weapons, and that is to be agreed with.
Yeah, 100%. I'm on the same page with you. Absolutely. Pallavi Ahluwalia, thank you so much for being with me. I really appreciate you, and we'll have you back.
Thank you so much. Take care. Have a good day.
You too.